Why do you think personal branding is no longer optional for founders? How important do you think it is?
Yeah. So I think personal branding is mandatory because, again, people follow people, then they follow brands. Inevitably, we live in a day and age where Americans hardly even trust like their neighbor, right? So let alone some stranger online, right? So what do you do here, right? Well, the beautiful thing is this, right? As a founder, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, right? You have so much power, right, at your fingertips to go and build your brand and build trust online, right? And so the beautiful thing is, again, you have agency to change this, right? You don't need to accept these circumstances that people are so skeptical online, right? You can get in front of people with your story, your values, your mission, why you created it, how it works, people you've helped, right? And gradually, ever so slightly, start to build more trust, right? And I think inevitably too, as a founder, right? We're talking about life as a numbers game, right? The idea that you can click a button and get in front of 1,000 people, click a button and get in front of 10,000 or 100,000 or 1 million people, that is legitimately insane. And we've just kind of lost track of that because it's just become everyday living now, right? But those are the exact odds that you need to bet on as a founder, right? This idea that, you can create a video around your product, get it in front of these people and be able to control your distribution. You don't need to rely on Zuck anymore. You don't need to rely on Musk, right? You can build your own media company. You can build your own email list and you can control the messaging you send out. And as we all know too, when someone goes and maybe wants to come and buy your business, or the next time you want to go and sell that new product launch, right? Your ability to actually control that media is going to make all the difference.
What do you think the founder is going to look like in like 2035? You think everybody is going to have their own like kind of personal holdcos?
Yeah, I think in 2035, the founder of that era is going to look, I think, insanely abundant, to be honest, right? I think that it's the day and age where I think a one-person, 10 billion company will be commonplace. I think that it's a matter of you're going to see like massive marketplaces of skills. I think the OpenClaw like skill library right now is 50 skills. That to me, like that seems insane, right? You think about the App Store, I don't know, there's got to be like 20,000 apps in there. I don't know.
We're early, yeah.
Right? It is early, right? You can imagine just going and be able to skill up multiple agents and go and give them all the skills you need to build a marketplace, to build an e-commerce thing, to build a retreat center, whatever the heck, right? So I think the founder of the future is going to benefit from systems, from really relying on their own agency, from being confident that they can learn anything fast, which I think is probably the ultimate thing. And I think, and it's very basic, but I think it's important, is just being organized. There's a lot of founders that I'll speak with that when I look at like how they control their desktop and how they are on their computer and their file folders, it's just a mess, right? On the other side, I see founders that have things super organized. They know how to find things fast. They have all their files organized proper, systems organized proper, companies organized. And then what they can just do is, if they're using OpenClaw or using OpenAI and ChatGPT for different tools or projects, they can just go and upload folders easily because they know what's all in there. They can upload documents in seconds, right? And suddenly now the thing is just ripping for them, right? So I think it's just an important day and age to have your head straight, right? Have your business straight and be up and on these like tech platforms, especially if you're an online business owner, right?
That's an interesting one. So organization and curiosity on the future of technology. You think those are the two big ones?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think as an example, like I'm going to Miami to meet with a good friend, one of my best friends, Francesco, next week. And we're just going to probably hole up in his place for, a week or so and kind of just do a little like retreat mastermind hackathon with OpenClaw, aiming to like probably automate 4 to 5 roles in my company, right? And the same for his. And this isn't because we have to do this. This isn't because anyone's forcing us to do this. There's nothing, right? It's just like, it sounds fun. It sounds interesting. And I'm just super curious to be ahead of the curve with this stuff. And, I don't know about you, right? But I was just texting, a friend before this, and I've been texting others. And, I know the leaders of like the largest companies out there and even just mid-cap, like everyone has this on their brain right now.
Everyone is getting MacBook Minis.
Everyone is shaking.
They're asking for the MacBook Minis over there. I feel their energy right now.
Yeah, the Mac Minis, man. And so I think it's an interesting time, right? People are shaking in their boots right now, right? A lot of companies are terrified. I know people have read, as an example, the intelligence crisis report that came out 2 days ago that a lot of the finance community is talking about, right? This idea that in 2028, the markets decreased on the S&P side 36% because all things are getting automated. And this idea that we may be entering a white collar worker crisis, this idea that as more companies go and automate roles, they remove white collar workers that make up 10% of the job force, but 50% of the discretionary spend. Thereby, there's less discretionary spend to even spend on these companies in the first place. Thereby, companies automate more stuff, lay off more workers, less discretionary spend, and it creates a crisis that way, by which you fast forward a few years and things get dicey. Now, is that where things end up going? I have no idea. But I know this is the kind of fear that's in the air right now. But on the positive side to it, and I do think as a founder, you must be optimistic always, right? Is in these moments, right? I think people that have high agency and more importantly, just ambitious, intelligent, and high velocity, passionate people, this is the day and age that you live for, because there's worlds or times in humanity where the game has been the same and you're entering the game, but it's already been running that way for 18 years. So you're new and you got to just work your way up and you got to learn aggressively in that kind of game.
And people have the playbook. It's the same playbook for 20 years. So
exactly. Right now, the game's been wiped, right? The guy, 55 years old, tech billionaire, has equal opportunity right now to the guy, 21 years old, that's kind of curious and getting ripping. Like, you all have a chance right now. And the game is being written as we speak. And so I think it's such a powerful time to be alive. And then again, gets down to how fast are you willing to learn and carve out your own little nook and cranny of the internet?